From the Mapleview Animal Hospital studios, this is the WHTC Morning News with Gary Stevens and Peg McNichol on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
And we welcome you back to the WHTC Morning News for this Tuesday, July 21st. Tuesday mornings, we have a chance to chat with Fred Upton, the Congressman from St. Joseph, represents Allegan County in the halls of Capitol Hill. An hour earlier than normal, but Fred joins us from his base of operations in St. Joe. Good morning, Fred. Hopefully all is well with you and the family.
Well, it is. I'm actually back in D.C. We had votes yesterday, and we got votes the rest of the week and all next week, and then who knows how long.
Yeah, for a minute I thought you were back home, but that's quite all right. That's quite all right. You had votes, and you have votes this week, and certainly a lot of attention is being focused on another stimulus bill. House minority Senate Democrats says that President should, and Mitch McConnell, the Republican House Senate Majority Leader, should consider the HEROES Act instead. But there is some other legislation. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin will be discussing things with Senate Republicans today. Do you have a funny feeling something's going to get done this week?
Probably not this week. I think we'll start to see some meat on the bones. Everyone fully expects that we're going to get a package done before we adjourn for the summer, which who knows how long that'll be. But there is going to be another package. It won't be the HEROES Act that passed the House narrowly. Even Democrats, a number of Democrats voted against that, particularly some of the problem solvers that are in the Democrats in the problem solvers caucus. It narrowly passed. As you said, it was over $3 trillion. Had everything, including the kitchen sink and then some, garbage disposal, a few other things that I think were part of that. But I do expect that. I just hope that the red lines aren't so harsh that we can't come together. And I fully expect that we'll get a package that'll be bipartisan, that the president will be able to sign, that'll provide money not only to the states who have had a tremendous loss of revenue and COVID cases, et cetera. It'll be based on a formula, but also the cities and the counties. You know, in so many places around the country, the governors captured all the money that we did before. None of it came down to the next level. It did if you were over 500,000 people, but we've only got one city like that in Michigan, Detroit. Didn't come to Grand Rapids, didn't come to Holland, didn't come to St. Joe Benton Harbor, didn't come to our counties. They have pretty big expenses as well. And if we can do this based on a formula, that's the SMART Act, which I'm a co-sponsor of. It's bipartisan, both the House and the Senate. I think that'll be the driving force to do a number of things to really try to, get more money for testing and a few other things, and make sure that our hospitals are doing okay. There'll be a package along those lines that we'll see emerge probably later this week. Senate likely votes on it at some point next week, and then we'll try to finish up after that.
Some good news coming out of Oxford University and AstraZeneca say their coronavirus vaccine efforts are showing promising results. Researchers say the vaccine was found to be well tolerated. There were no serious adverse effects other than fatigue and headache. Other common side effects include pain at the injection site, muscle ache, chills, and a fever. You had a chance to visit the Pfizer facility in Kalamazoo. They're working on a vaccine too.
Well, they are. Actually, this is great news. A number of companies now have really seen promising results in the trials. Of course, we sped that along because of 21st Century Cures, the bill that I helped force through when I was chairman of Energy and Commerce, widely bipartisan to get it done, but it speeds up the approval of drugs and devices. They've been able to take advantage of that. We've had extra funding in the prior packages that the president has signed into law. And whether it's AstraZeneca, Moderna, Pfizer, they are all excited about the progress that they've made. And they're actually beginning now in the next couple of weeks to produce, manufacture doses that they think will meet the FDA required safety requirements and have literally hundreds of millions of doses available before the end of this calendar year. You're right. I went to Pfizer yesterday. They brought in their head of their worldwide global engineering to begin to transform that operation there. 4 different product line or 2 different lines, which they're going to double that as well. They're hoping, as they heard from the boss, spend whatever it takes. They're hoping to have 40 million doses ready for sale, available before the end of the year. And we've got a hearing today in the Energy and Commerce Committee that I'll be participating in with a number of these companies, including Pfizer. And we're going to be hearing precisely where they are, where's the supply chain, what's the cost going to be, how many doses, where are they on the trials, widely what should be a bipartisan hearing, and it will last much of the day.
We're talking with Congressman Fred Upton. President Trump is reportedly sending federal agents to Chicago this week to tamp down violence in the city. The Chicago Tribune reports the U.S. Department of Homeland Security is planning to deploy about 150 agents to assist other federal law enforcement in Chicago police and crime-fighting efforts. The president has said that he's considering also sending federal agents to other cities, including Detroit, and all under Democratic Party mayors. Your thoughts about that? And of course, you got some police reform bills that you are sponsoring as well.
Well, a couple things. First of all, Chicago, we've seen just untold violence the last number of years. Often weekends, 30, 40, 50 people killed or shot, I should say. Violence still continues. I know this last weekend, Michigan Avenue was ransacked a little bit in terms of the stores. It's my understanding that Chicago is welcoming that assistance. And I think you look at law enforcement, you have to have that partnership. You have to have different agencies that wanting to work together, like we have here in Michigan with our state police, our sheriffs, and city officers. There has to be that relationship there. Now, where are we on police reform? We actually have a meeting tonight. As you know, I'm on the Problem Solvers Bipartisan Caucus. We've got a meeting after votes tonight with other leaders in the House and maybe the Senate to see if we can't get a package together that makes sense. More money for community policing, more money for body cams, yes, restrictions, real restrictions on chokeholds, no knock warrants, a number of different things that have been plagued with mistakes, I guess you could call it, and a real line in the sand on the qualified immunity. A number of us have said that we do not want our law enforcement families to be targeted with these lawsuits. That provision has to go. I feel pretty confident that any package that moves will meet that test.
Now, the thing is, though, Fred, we've had statements from Governor Whitmer and Attorney General Dana Nessel saying that federal agents are not welcome in Detroit and that they don't need the assistance of these federal agents if the president does attempt to send them into the city of Detroit. Should Congress step in and say, hey, wait a minute, the executive branch can do so much and no further?
Well, before that would happen, you'd want that relationship to be there. You'd want a welcoming participation by federal and state. You have that apparently in Chicago. You're right. I don't think we have that in Detroit. I don't expect that to happen. Although there is a need, as we've seen in Portland, to make sure that federal buildings, in fact, are protected. I haven't seen the news yet this morning about what may have happened in Portland last night, but when they're using commercial grade fireworks to try and set that building afire, I mean, that's where a line has to be drawn. But, as relates to Detroit, you've got to have a request. You got to have a partnership. You have to have cooperation for any decent law enforcement operation to happen.
One final thing, Fred Upton, and we do need to bring this up. You had a good relationship with the late Georgia State House Representative John Lewis, a civil rights icon who passed away last weekend. And in fact, a photo on your webpage, which is upton.house.gov, showed you with John Lewis, one of the last meetings you had with him. And the accolades have been from both sides of the aisle for what Mr. Lewis has done for his constituents and for the House in general over the years.
Well, he was a gentle giant, a dear friend. We were elected in the same class. I asked him to come to our district, and he did, to try and heal some racial unrest that we had in Benton Harbor a number of years ago. I traveled with him a number of times to Selma on the bus with him from Birmingham and Montgomery and Selma visited the church where those little girls were killed with a firebomb that just breaks your heart. Walked with him across the Edmund Pettus Bridge with others. He was a remarkable guy, a legend. I expect that his body will lie in state in the rotunda. Only about 30 Americans have had that privilege since the Capitol was dedicated back in 1863. There are wonderful tributes to a man. He suffered, of course, from pancreatic cancer. He really struggled the last 6 months. The picture that I put out on my website last night was actually on his 80th birthday, a little bit earlier this year. That was right at the beginning of COVID. So that's why we were doing the elbow bump. That was before people knew that they should wear masks. We didn't have social distancing. Again, this was way before that started. But he was just a lovely person, gentle, a voice that I will always remember, and one that clearly made a difference as we try to heal our nation and move forward.
He is Congressman Fred Upton, who joins us Tuesday mornings, talk about some of the issues of the day on WHTC Morning News. Fred, I'm going to have next week off. Scott Watson will be here if you can have a chance to chat with him. And if all goes well, you'll chat with Scott next Tuesday, and I'll talk with you in a couple of weeks.
Great. Well, enjoy your vacation. I'll be back in D.C. for votes again.
Sometimes I wish I was in D.C. too, because I haven't been in Washington in over 30 years. I'd like to go back and visit some of the exhibits there.
Well, my AC went out when I came home, so it's 96 degrees upstairs. So it's the reason I slept on the couch on the first floor.
Yeah. Okay. We won't miss that. Fred, I'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Thank you.
You bet.
And that is Fred Upton on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.